Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Scott here, and today we're going to be breaking down the failings of the Lakers' current front office and what they should do moving forward. Ever since Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka became the leaders of the front office back in February of 2017, their primary goal was to open up 2 max slots to have the chance of signing max free agents in 2018 and 2019. From then up until signing LeBron James, they were able to do that, and were praised for the work they did to get to that point. But ever since they signed LeBron, they made questionable decisions when building their roster that make you wonder what was the purpose of opening up that cap space in the first place. And even though it wasn't clear at the time, some of the moves they made prior to signing LeBron were not very good. By the time they reached their goal of opening up 2 max slots, that's when they really showed their incompetence as a front office. Now, the only way to prove this is by looking at all the important moves they made since they were hired 2 years ago. And after we see all the moves, we'll look at what they could have done instead. On February 23, 2017, just 2 days after they were hired, they decided to trade Lou Williams to the Rockets for Corey Brewer and the 28th pick in the draft. This was a trade that later got them Josh Hart and Thomas Bryant. On June 20, 2017, they made the decision to trade D'Angelo Russell and Timothy Mozgov for Brook Lopez and the 27th pick. This trade opened up $53 million in cap space for 2018 and got them a long-term prospect in Kyle Kuzma in return. In the draft, they of course were able to get Lonzo Ball with the 2nd overall pick, as well as Kyle Kuzma, Josh Hart, and Thomas Bryant in the trades they previously made. Fast forward to February 8 of 2018, they made a trade with the Cleveland Cavaliers that sent Jordan Clarkson and Larry Nance Jr. to the Cavs in exchange for Isaiah Thomas, Channing Frye, and the 25th pick. This trade opened up $67 million in cap space, which gave them complete flexibility to sign 2 max players. On June 21, they drafted Mo Wagner with the 25th pick that they got in the Cleveland deal. Then they traded their 2019 second rounder to get Isaac Bonga 39th overall, and then finally drafted Svi Mykhailiuk 47th overall. Right as free agency opened up on July 1st, Paul George decided to stay with OKC, which left the Lakers with really only 1 max free agent to sign, and that was LeBron James. LeBron then agreed to a 4-year, $154 million deal, which left them with $15 million in cap space, which also included Julius Randle's $12.4 million cap hold. Almost immediately after signing LeBron, they agreed to re-sign KCP to a 1-year, $12 million deal. Their cap space at this point was down to $3 million, while Randle's cap hold was still there. Then after signing KCP, they added both Lance Stevenson and JaVale McGee, who both could be used as mid-level and minimum contract exceptions, which means their cap space doesn't need to go down immediately. One day later, on July 2nd, they withdrew their qualifying offer on Julius Randle, which renounced their rights to him. The Lakers' cap space then opened back up to $15 million. Julius Randle, immediately after being renounced, agreed to join the Pelicans on a $9 million deal, with a $9 million player option for next season. Shortly after Julius was renounced, the Lakers agreed with Rajon Rondo to a 1-year, $9 million deal. This then brought their cap space down to $6 million. Almost a week later, on July 8th, Brook Lopez signed with the Milwaukee Bucks for a 1-year, $3.3 million deal, while the Lakers still had $6 million left. On July 10th, the Lakers then decided to fill the rest of their cap with Lance and JaVale's contracts, which emptied their cap space and left them with just the $4.4 million mid-level exception, which they later used on Michael Beasley for $3.5 million. On September 3, the Lakers agreed to buy out Luol Deng. Deng decided to give back $7.5 million of his remaining $38 million, which helped give the Lakers up to $43 million in cap space for 2019. On February 6, a day before the trade deadline, the Lakers decided to trade Svi Mykhailiuk and a 2021 second-round pick to the Pistons for Reggie Bullock. The next day, they traded Ivica Zubac and Michael Beasley for Mike Muscala. So at this point, this is pretty much all the future-altering decisions that Magic and Rob made over the last 2 years. Now, I want to give you guys my take on each decision and what they should have done instead that would have improved the moves they make down the line. I'll also have a complete look at what their roster would have looked like at the end of it. Starting with the early Lou Williams trade, this trade was necessary to make. Lou Will didn't really fit with the timeline of the roster, and it was also smart to add a draft asset. Now, with the pre-draft 2017 D'Angelo Russell trade, they shouldn't have done this move, or at least tried to find another way to get off of Mozgov's money, even though it did open up $53 million in cap space for 2018 as opposed to the $30 million they previously had. They should have held on to that contract for another season just like they did with Luol Deng. That would have at least given them a chance to get a deal like the Nets got last summer, which only took them 2 second-round picks and buying out the last year of Dwight Howard's contract. I know the pick they got in the deal turned out to be Kyle Kuzma, but some people still don't understand that the Lakers could have picked Kuzma with the 28th pick. The Nets were not planning on picking Kuzma with the 27th pick, and it was confirmed by the Nets GM Sean Marks that the pick was part of the deal, and they don't know who would have drafted Kuzma if they kept the pick. The Lakers wouldn't have Josh Hart if they used the 28th pick on Kuzma, but because D'Angelo Russell is an all-star now, they'd probably much rather have him than Hart. Then for the Jordan Clarkson and Larry Nance Jr. trade, it was really just a move to get them complete room for 2 max players. This was the only way for them to reach 2 max slots because stretching Luol Deng wouldn't have gotten them there. Had they not done the D'Angelo Russell trade, they probably wouldn't have had the chance to get 2 max players anyway, but this was just a trade that was based on their current situation. It depended a lot on where other pieces around the league would fall, like Paul George staying with OKC, so you really can't argue with their reasoning on this trade, and keeping Clarkson would have made it harder to re-sign Randall. The 2018 draft was alright, they probably could have picked Mitchell Robinson instead of Mo Wagner, but they should be happy with Wagner. Now with the infamous 2018 free agency, which really put together the reasoning for this video. So they lost Paul George to the Thunder and signed LeBron James later in the day. Because there was no longer a top free agent that they really wanted, they should have just went to Julius Randle and offered him a 1-year $18 million balloon deal instead of immediately going after KCP, JaVale, and a few other vets that don't fit the roster. Or if they already signed those guys and still haven't renounced Julius, then that's when they could match the deal he got with the Pelicans. There's no reason Julius Randle should be playing on $9 million a season. Not even cap flexibility should keep them from matching that. If they matched it, they still would have had $34 million to go after any free agent except Kevin Durant in 2019. This is without even addressing the players they signed instead of Randle. KCP and Rondo both signed contracts that Randle could have got. The Lakers could have signed just one of KCP or Rondo and then put the remaining $6 million towards Brook Lopez instead of Lance and JaVale. There's no reason Brook would decline a $6 million offer to rejoin the Lakers instead of the $3.3 million offer he got from the Bucks. Because they didn't sign him for almost double what he actually got, even though they had the opportunity, this just proves that they didn't have any intentions on re-signing him. It was even confirmed in a report recently that Magic Johnson ignored the request from the coaching staff to re-sign Julius Randle and Brook Lopez. Another thing they should have done was stretch Deng earlier, which would have easily kept Randle. For all intents and purposes, it was the right decision to wait till after August 31 to buy him out, because they only need to pay him over the next 3 seasons instead of 4. But that shouldn't have kept them from re-signing a player of Randle's caliber. The trade in the middle of the season for Bullock was just a cover up for what they should have done in the offseason, which was sign more shooters. The deal itself wasn't bad, Svi wasn't a rotation player and still isn't with the Pistons, but they could have easily done this in the offseason. Then for the Mike Muscala trade, this is something that I addressed as a business decision because they probably weren't going to keep Zubac. However, there was no reason to believe at that point in the season they wouldn't want Zubac back, because he was playing the best basketball of his career. They also barely gave Wagner a chance to prove himself as their stretch 5, which mostly falls on the coaching staff. The trade itself was just another cover-up for them failing in free agency to re-sign Brook Lopez. The main moves that shifted the shape of their roster were trading D'Angelo Russell and not re-signing Julius Randle. If the Lakers just stretched Mozgov, they would have had $58 million to spend on both LeBron and Randle, then use the rest of the money on a Brook Lopez type role player. This is what their roster would look like this season if they just did those two things. Instead, they're left with just LeBron, Ingram, Lonzo, and Kuzma, and a hope to sign a max free agent in 2019 or 2020. It could be said that LeBron wouldn't have joined if they didn't have the cap space, but let's be real, LeBron was going to sign anyway. Since signing with the Lakers, he's either produced or is set to produce 12 different films or docuseries. He says that was all in the works before he signed, but it's pretty suspect that he have this many things announced as soon as he joins the Lakers. The Lakers front office has mismanaged and inconsistently directed their roster ever since they were hired, and it's obvious. In the first few months, they seemed like they were all in on the young core, and then they gave up a future all-star for cap space. Just look at the contrast of their trade discussions. In 2017, they wouldn't give up Brandon Ingram or the 2nd overall pick for Paul George, but then in 2019, they were reportedly willing to offer their entire roster for Anthony Davis. The common consensus for the Lakers, even before they got LeBron, was that they didn't have any star players. While 2 years ago, they traded away a player that's now become an all-star, and then a year ago, they barely made an effort to bring back a player that's now averaging 21-9. The young players they have right now, along with the players they let go in the last couple years, are their star players. They've just been too impatient to realize that. Then once they made a conscious decision in the 2018 draft to add shooting around their young core, 10 days later they signed LeBron James and a bunch of non-shooters with an edge. Then after 4 months of those signings not working out, they gave up young assets again to try and rectify the mistakes they made prior. Their argument to this would be that they accomplished what they set out to do from the beginning, which was create cap flexibility for 2 max players to play with their young core. This is completely backwards from what their goals are now, which is trade them all for Anthony Davis. This mindset isn't even because they're trying to build around LeBron either. It's recently been reported that Jeannie Buss was so upset with LeBron's agent Rich Paul for leaking the Anthony Davis rumors that she considered trading LeBron at the deadline. This is a complete 180 from back in July when Rob Pelinka said that signing LeBron was the ultimate validation for all they did to get to that point. It's unacceptable for them to miss the playoffs for a 6th consecutive season after signing LeBron James, and as a front office, that all has to do with their poor management of assets and signing the wrong players. Magic Johnson might be the face that got LeBron to sign on the dotted line, but everything that's transpired since he signed has been a complete cover-up and just shows their incompetence as a front office. If they're unable to sign a max max player and have another bad summer of signings, then Genie should strongly consider firing Magic and Rob. And if they do get replaced, they should be looking for replacements that have a level-headed mindset and can build the roster the right way. A lot of GMs can accomplish something as simple as clearing cap space if they have the assets to give up, but the best GMs can do that without throwing them away. It starts with them deciding who they want to stick around and figure out what their direction is. Whoever replaces them, the hope should be that they put the team in a position to win sooner than later, and that their success continues well beyond that point. That's all I have for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to see more in-depth Lakers content like this, then make sure you subscribe, and make sure to leave a like and share this video if you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.